Oh my gosh, there are so many rules. Real artists don't use photo references. Real artists never trace. Real artists don't draw anime. Real artists own 12 ferrets. What? No one ever said that? But when you're learning, sometimes the best way to get ahead is to break the rules. My name is Brad, and today I'm going to share my 10 ways to cheat, lie, and steal your way to becoming a better artist. Before we get started, let's lay down some rules. If you copy someone else's work, do not post it online. Just don't do it.
What if I tag the artist and say I was inspired by them?
No, unless you're given expressed permission by the artist, do not do it. Different illustrators have different feelings around this, and I make tutorials here on YouTube, so you do have my permission to recreate anything I do here. That's fine, but different artists have different reasons for their posting policies. So if you respect an artist's work enough to learn from it, the best way to show that respect is to not post your practice drawings. Cool? All right, let's go. Hey, if you're learning how to draw, tracing over someone's art and getting a feel for how that art is done is okay. We don't ask musicians to write their own songs when they're learning to play an instrument. Learning to draw by copying other people's work is a good way to understand how all of these things fit together. Here is what I would suggest. Trace a portion of the piece that you're having trouble with. The head, the hands, the pose. Then, off to the side, after you've traced it, what I want you to do is copy it, but this time you're going to draw it without tracing it. Then off to the side again, I want you to draw it again, and then draw it over again and again. You get the idea. This is called practice. This is also a great way to get in some practice if you're sitting in front of a blank piece of paper and can't figure out what to draw. Number 2, steal perspective grids. One of the hardest things to do when starting out is getting your perspective grid to look right. Your perspective is either way too low or things are just getting way too exaggerated too quickly. Find a piece that you like and ask yourself, how did they do that? How did they get that angle just right, or that feel of that scene? Trace back the lines that they have back to those horizon points and build your own work off of their grid. If you're having trouble getting your perspective not to look skewed or fitting everything into your canvas, this is a great way to start out to see how many illustrations are constructed, especially if you're working on background art. Number 3, we're talking about 3D models. You may think that posing a 3D model and then drawing over it is cheating, but it's not. This happens all the time. In fact, some programs like Clip Studio come with a 3D model already built in for this exact purpose. I wouldn't say that I do this all the time, but I've done it from time to time and I've been very happy with how things have turned out. I figure out my pose and then I simplify it. Maybe I tweak some things here and there to make it look more cartoony, to match my style, and boom, I have a much better illustration than what I would have had I had not used that 3D reference. Number 4, I want you to try vector art. Do you ever finish coloring and inking your sketch and think, why do these lines look like they were drawn by a 6-year-old who just had 12 packets of Skittles? Learning to draw art in a vector program like Adobe Illustrator or Affinity Designer is a great way to start to get really smooth and crisp lines. I think a lot of folks steer away from vector programs early on in their careers because when you first use them, they seem very mechanical. They don't seem very organic. They're just not intuitive. But when you start to understand them and get past that initial learning curve, you can do some pretty cool stuff there. Also, once you get into those programs, you're going to find that you can apply brushstrokes to many of your lines. In those applications, there are some realistic looking brushstrokes that you can apply to your lines so they won't look so smooth and precise, so mechanical. They'll look more organic. Same thing goes with color. Once you get the hang of building up flat colors and then applying gradients is pretty easy. Even like recoloring your artwork, trying different combinations, going for the look that you want becomes much easier, and it's a great way to experiment in a way that you can't really do with flat colors if you're doing a traditional painting. Number 5, draw in your style challenges. With many of these suggestions, I tell you, hey, don't post any of this stuff on social media. This is all for learning. And I get it. That could be a little bit frustrating. You just drew something that you like and you want to share it with your friends. One option here is to participate in a type of challenge called Draw This in Your Own Style. It's a hashtag. It's on social media. What's great about this is the artist is literally saying, hey,
I would love you to take my art and recreate it to look like something that you made. Really, the idea here is a lot of artists just like to see how other artists approach the same challenge. And it gives you permission to recreate their art so that you can then go share it with the artist and maybe even get some feedback from the community. I find this really helpful because it lets me dissect what other illustrators have already done. Why does their head look better? How come my facial expressions didn't turn out as well? What are they doing to achieve that look? Such great practice. Hey Brad, what's that computer you're using in the video? It looks kind of cool.
This is the Acer Concept D7 Pro, a Taiwan Excellence Award-winning product. Today's video is sponsored by Taiwan Excellence. The Taiwan Excellence Awards are awarded to the best and highest quality products coming out of Taiwan. Every year, hundreds of industry professionals come together and judge products on their R&D, design, quality, and marketing. And you guessed it, the Concept D7 Pro is one of their award-winning products. The Concept D7 Pro is Acer's best-in-class laptop for creatives. It starts with the beautiful screen. This is a 4K Pantone validated display with 100% Adobe RGB color range. And it's powerful. This Windows 10 laptop is rocking an Intel Core i7 mobile processor and an NVIDIA Quattro RTX 5000 Max-Q GPU, and is powerful enough for any creative task, whether you're a studio that needs to render complex 3D models or a video creator who needs a laptop that can push out 4K video efficiently. Whether you're a 2D artist or a 3D artist, video maker or creator of any kind, you're going to appreciate the sleek, minimalist design and subtle color touches they've crafted into this device. This new Concept D7 Pro model from Acer isn't available yet, but it's coming soon. In the meantime, you can visit the Concept D7 Pro page via the link in the description box below. Thank you, Taiwan Excellence, for sponsoring this video. Check out the description box if you want more information on Taiwan Excellence and to show them some love on social media.
Number 6. Master studies. When you're ready to take the drawing in your own style to that next level, you should learn more about master studies. This is where you take the work of master painters, like painters who are world-renowned, who have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, and you straight up copy their work. So instead of drawing it in your style, you're drawing it in their style. What you want to do here is look closely at how they use shapes. You want to find the exact colors that they created. You want to figure out, how did they mix those? How did those brush strokes go down? What direction were they in? What size are these? And try to emulate all those things that were going through their heads when they created these great epic works. And I'll be honest, this is hard, like hardcore hard. I am terrible at these, but whenever I try anything like it, I do learn a lot. Number 7, use a really big, boring, ugly brush. One of the things that throws off a lot of new artists is thinking that you need some fancy brush or fancy tool to get your art looking better. If only you could find that one amazing brush for Procreate, your work would just shine. But grabbing just a round brush, a boring old round brush, and making it big, that's how I do a lot of my early work. Usually I get something sketched out in pencil first, and then I just start laying down colors, and I'm not worried about all those details. I'm just trying to get blocks of things worked out. I'm trying to figure out the composition and the colors that I'm working with. This is the stage of my art where I want to be making decisions. If I'm trying to make things look pretty, I'm not making good decisions. I like to think of this as a thumbnail. Once I get the thumbnail looking okay, I know that when I dive in and get into those itty-gritty details, it's gonna look pretty good. In fact, oftentimes, I use this on its own layer, and then when I'm done with it, I'll shrink it down and set it off to the corner and use it as my color palette for my final illustration. Number 8, draw more junk. I drew this desk. Okay, cool, but that is boring. Adding more stuff to your illustration is a great way to make the scene more real, more lived in. A mistake I make all the time is just drawing the bare minimum. But when you go into your house or your office, there's stuff everywhere. At least at my house, there's stuff everywhere. All of these little things make my office feel like home. And if you're drawing something or anything, adding more stuff is a great way to make something look lived in. Now, the key here is to make sure that the junk that you're drawing overlaps. This is actually really hard, because if you're drawing something that you like a guitar, why would you want to put a bookshelf in front of that? Why would you want to put other stuff in front of that guitar? No one's going to see the guitar. So I get it. It could be difficult to draw stuff because some of the new stuff that you put on top of it is going to cover up the stuff, but that's okay. That's what you're going for, a really lived in scene that looks more alive and natural. Number 9, lift colors and tones from other pieces of art. Now you might be thinking, whoa, wait up, that's a little too far. That's straight up stealing, and I more or less agree. But I often find this is a good starting place. If I'm working with colors and it's just not working and it doesn't look good, I'll go find a piece where the color did work. I'll pull those colors over and do a thumbnail based on that color scheme. Sometimes it doesn't, but it usually lets me know if the problem is the drawing or the problem is the colors that I'm picking. And if those colors are working, that becomes my starting point, not the ending point. Whenever I do that, I always find the need to add another color or take a color or two out or add some darkness or add some lightness, adjust the contrast. There will always be changes to the colors I use. Sometimes recoloring whole sections, just changing the light sources, adjusting brightness and levels, you get the idea. Basically what I'm saying here is if you have a good sketch, but it's not looking good when you start to color it, this is a way to kind of jumpstart those creative juices. Number 10, turn off the colors, man. This one I love because sometimes what makes color work aren't the colors at all, but the contrast between those colors. By desaturating your image, by taking all of the color out of that image and just looking at those values, you can see so much more. A lot of artists actually start this way. They'll work in black and white first, and then once they get to a point they like, then they'll jump in and start adding those colors. That's because if it's not going to work in black and white, it's not going to work in color. Just like many artists like to flip their canvas back and forth to see if something looks off center when they flip it around, I think about color kind of the same way. So those are my 10 tips. Do you have one? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.